addressed that in everyone's favorite example of a problematic antibody, bococizumab. I'm sure everyone here is aware this was a high-profile phase 3 clinical trial failure. For a bit of context, it started life as a mouse hybridoma, was humanized to a molecule called 5-AE10I, which I'll show you as a control later. This was matured by phage display, taking the affinity from 300 picomolar down to 5 picomolar, but in doing so introduced some biophysical problems reported by Jane et al. And many others now. And of course, there was significant immunogenicity in phase 3, with approximately half of patients exhibiting anti-drug antibodies to this thing. So when you put bococizumab and its precursor into the main display system, once again, you can see that the compromised developability of bococizumab is manifested in a lower display level on the cell. Again, of course, antibody was formulated and taken to phase 3. And of course, you might not have picked this one had you known that and used the main display as the platform to deliver it. But we wanted to know, can you take bococizumab and engineer it, create a library, and engineer improved biophysical properties for this antibody? So there's a crystal structure available for bococizumab in complex with its target, PCSK9. We designed libraries, including both paratopic and non-paratopic regions, which we thought may be involved in contributing to some of these biophysical issues. So we select then for maintained binding, so we don't want to lose binding, of course, and improved display. We recover the genes, sequence analysis, biophysical characterization of uniques. I think we looked at a plate's worth, so 90-odd clones, and they were all improved compared to bococizumab, but I'm just going to show you a slightly more comprehensive set of data around just the most enriched clones. So these are the clones which the main display system liked the best from that library. It's a bit of a busy table, but I'll take you through it. So I'm showing you the CDR2 sequence here. This is the bococizumab sequence. These are shorthand variants for the most enriched clones coming from the main display. This is the amount of enrichment. And we compare them to 5-AE10I, the precursor I mentioned, and alirocumab, which we use routinely in-house as an example of a well-behaved antibody. Happens to bind the same target. And then you see a range of different developability measurements. So you have AC-SINs. Again, for anyone who's not familiar, this is a measure of self-association, and a high score is bad and a low score is good. So again, you see bococizumab has issues, and these variants are matching the best case benchmarks. And you get the same story whether you look at retention time on HPLC-seq. Polyspecificity also was judged by this BSA ELISA, which was slightly more of a surprise. There is actually improvement in expression yield here, so having just persuaded you it's not all expression, clearly expression is a contributing factor. And then this is DLS, the Z average at 40 megamil, so reasonably high concentration. And again, you can see bococizumab has problems, and these the main display-derived antibodies are in line with the positive control, at least as good. Okay, so overall, we see improved biophysical behavior from the main display-enriched variants across multiple metrics. And the main point I want to make here is that so lots of these assays, and there are various different ones available, require you to purify a reasonable amount of protein. The throughput of them can be tens for the most discriminating, maybe hundreds for things like AC-SINs, and if you have some automation. But this allows us to look, we hope, at meaningful biophysical properties, not on the level of tens or hundreds, but on the level of millions and tens of millions, and to do so simultaneously with the binding properties. Okay, so I've shown you we can separate a good guy from a bad guy, we can create a library, we can select based on developability properties, but we want to know how powerful a reporter this is of late-stage development, as I've just alluded to. So we took a group of more than 110 CMC stage biologics. We've defined, of course, because they're CMC stage, we've defined self-association characteristics. We made a kind of mini library of these, introduced them to the main display system, and gated according to display level. So I'm showing you a low display gate, a medium display gate, and a high display. And we then do NGS analysis of the output populations and compare what we know about their biophysical properties. So I'm showing you here on the y-axis a combined self-association score derived from a battery of different CMC stage self-association and aggregation assays. And you're seeing the average score across these different populations. And what you can see is that there's a clear, strong, stepwise correlation between improved biophysical behavior for these downstream molecules and display level. So suggesting that display on the mammalian platform is a highly predictive reporter of late-stage self-association. There's another way to look at this, which is to divide these clones, this is the same data, to divide these clones into classes. So here we're just kind of stratifying them based on their score. So we've got class 1, which is a score of 0, so that's bulletproof in every assay, to use a technical term. Class 2, which is between above 0 and less than 0.3, which is still actually pretty good, and then worse than that. And you can see in the input, there's a broadly even split, slightly more of the class 3s. And then again, you see this enrichment of the excellent clones away from just the good clones based on display level. And again, it's stepwise, and in the high display level, we've really strongly enriched the best of the best in this set.